Hello, I'm Jamie Gilroy with Shukla Medical, and I'm here to discuss the history of the original Windquist, the Windquist 2, the Windquist 3, and then eventually the S9 nail, sort of the stories behind each of them. Many years ago, a doctor out of Seattle, Washington, named Dr. Windquist, wanted a nail system that would remove most of the nails that he was encountering. There was not one on the market. Many of the reps were not available for the cases that he was doing, so he was growing frustrated with the efforts it was taking to remove IM nails, which we all know are historically difficult. So he started asking many of the manufacturers in the industry to develop a universal tray. And all of them said that there was a need. However, none of them would share their proprietary information with each other. So sort of a dead end for Dr. Windquist. Dr. Windquist then came up with the idea to go to a tooling company called Snap-on Medical, hoping that they would make a universal IM nail removal kit, which they did, which was our first Snap-on Windquist system, which launched in 1996. As you can see it right here, it was a one-tray system that had 3 levels in it. On the lower level, they had the original C-frame, which you can see is pretty outdated compared to what we have now. The chisel, the T-handle, the wrenches are all standard pretty much across all of the trays, but they also had an old mallet. But at the time, for the select few surgeons around the country that actually purchased the system, it was incredible. On the second level, they had a bunch of screwdrivers for all of the cross screws that they would encounter, and a handle. And then on the upper level were around about 17 tips, the conical, also the small and large hook, and an extension. So for 1996, if you wanted to remove a nail, this was by far the best system out there. However, the idea of removing IM nails without the manufacturer's tooling was still at its infancy. Certainly something that we're developing today on that standardizing to Shukla Medical for your head-to-toe extractions, but at the time, this was rarely used. We're still seeing these out in the field. If you run into a level 1, a level 2, or a level 3 trauma center that has this, it's certainly worth the upgrade, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. So this was on the market from 1996 to 2005. In 2005, enter in SS White, which was formerly what Shukla was named, and we sort of made some pretty significant upgrades to more the look rather than the usage. We upgraded our mallet to a much nicer mallet, a much bigger mallet. If you want to compare the two, you can see that they're pretty significantly different. The surgeons love this mallet. We did a pretty significant upgrade on the C-frame. So much nicer C-frame, and you guys all know the harmonics that actually perform through our C-frame are much different than the original C-frame there as well. So the meat of the tray stayed the same. We did add a couple of sockets here. Most of the drivers are the same. And then again, most of the tip configuration stayed the same. We upgraded the metal on the conical, you still have the extension, you have some of the female extractors that were in the original, but not much of a change. But the effort to sell this tray was much more focused, and we were going after big trauma centers to get them to identify the fact that they could use one single system to remove all their nails. As we got groundswell on that effort, the needs of this tray changed pretty significantly. The more surgeons that we had use this tray, the more inherent issues we found in the tray. So almost overnight, within 5 years, we launched a new tray because we had so much feedback and so many surgeons using this. They would tell us, oh, we love this, but. So in the Windquist 3 that we launched just a short 5 years later, we made some pretty significant changes. Not so much in the bottom tray, still wrenches, the C-frame, the same mallet, the T-handle. None of the drivers really changed. the bulk of the changes came in the tip configurations and the tip offerings. So what you'll see here is these were reusable. We went to a disposable model because as we got more surgeons using our product, they were breaking these tips. And that would really frustrate them because when these tips broke, this would be captured in the body of the nail and this would be outside with no backup. So if we wanted to be the standard for IM nail removal, yet if our one way to remove this broke, we were really up a creek without a paddle. So if you find anyone with a Winquist 2 or an original Winquist, the upgrade is a no-brainer to S9 nail because of this huge deficiency in removing IM nails. So we went to a disposable tip model that has an inherent engineering breakpoint right above this solid piece. We added a wrench that would allow the surgeon, if he did break it, to go ahead and get it out of the body, and we put in an additional extractor body, so if it was broken off in this piece, you throw this one to the side, but you had a bailout. We didn't really change the number of tips that were in the tray. The selection of tips, it stayed around 17 or 18. However, we did make them disposable so that if they did break during the case, that wouldn't be an issue. We also didn't really change the conical. Small and large hooks stayed the same, but we did, this was a significant upgrade, we added solid nail extractors. Now you can see there's a pretty different from what I'll show you in S9 nail. They were slotted, there were no clearing cutting teeth, there were cutting threads on the inside, but that was a big factor in why the uptick in purchasing of our nail system changed, because we don't want to have issues for the surgeons, we want to solve the issues, and we really made a gigantic leap from 2 to 3. So that was 2005, again, this was 2005, this was 2010, this was 1996. 2019, we've really got our momentum. We're penetrating hospitals more and more every day. Our rep force is growing. The idea of head-to-toe extraction and a standardization really came into play. So the upgrade from 2 to 3, I would say, was just as significant as the upgrade from 3 to S9 nail. We completely changed the mallet. Many of these IM nails are extremely difficult to remove. Many of the surgeons were asking for a larger mallet, so we gave them a two-handed mallet. So that was a tremendous upgrade. We actually changed the C-frame significantly. Not only did we give the surgeon something to hold, or the tech something to hold on the outside, we also added a detachable T-handle as well, so that they could hook that on the end. So significant upgrades, and all these upgrades came from feedback from surgeons for the field. So that's in the bottom tray. The other thing that we also did is wrenching and wrenching on and off that nut is kind of a pain, so we added a ratcheting wrench, which is really liked. And this came from an idea in the rep, from a rep, Kurt Johnson. This was a thread sizing board. So 50% of IM nails have a cap. When you remove the cap from the IM nail, instead of fumbling to try and identify which thread configuration was correct by trying one at a time, the surgeon can simply take the cap, come over to our thread sizing board, identify exactly the tip thread configuration in there, and it cuts down the fumbleness of the surgery. The next changes is we significantly improved the design of our tips. So if you can see a tip from here where you have the engineering breaking point, we still have the engineering breaking point on the new tips. However, right here is the engineering breaking point. The surgeons were complaining how hard it was to get the wrench on this very small engineering breaking point, and actually that would strip a lot. With this one, we made it a much larger portion of the tip so that the surgeon could get on it if it did break in the IM nail itself. We also pointed our tips so it was easier to find the proximal end of the nail. You know, you've got a lot of tissue that you're working around, so when you're getting down in a dark space, it's hard to find. So that helps center the bit into the tip of the nail. We also added bone clearing flutes
because we know that 50% of the nails out there don't have a thread cap in them. The surgeons opted not to put one in, so bone will grow in there. The bone clearing flutes will help put that thread correctly into that nail and clear that bone as it goes down. So significant improvements in there.
We removed the drivers altogether because Maxi was becoming so comprehensive. We felt that we could sell the Maxi along with our S9 nail. So instead of having the drivers, we did add 5 drivers that are not found in the Maxi. We have quick attach T-handle. So on the old T-handles, you have to thread each tip on. So to save time and become more efficient, the engineers just came up with a quick attach T-handle for all the different tips that are in the tray, which is really popular. And we also have a quick attach tip collector. So this will just go right in there. Your doctor can find the right one. He's going back and forth, so he doesn't have to thread this into the extractor bodies every time. So some significant improvements. You still have your extension. We gave you 3 extractor bodies because we did have some cases where the surgeon would break 2 tips and not have an additional extractor body, so we did add another one. We also did redesign and offset the hooks, small and large. So the old hooks were straight down and causing a moment, so an engineering term that pulls the IM nail to one side. So you can see that the hooks have been dramatically improved to pull the nails, and there's 2 of each. So in the old one there was only 1. In the new one there's 2 of each, which is great because if they bend or break a hook, there's a backup. We also significantly improved the conical tip. So this is a go-to for many of the surgeons. The old one used to be here, so we were limited on the smaller sizes and even on the larger sizes. And these are now disposable, offering 2 of each. In the old one, it wasn't disposable, and many of the counts that we pull trays in, all of these threads are stripped and gone. So this isn't even a viable option after a couple of uses or even after 1 use. The fact that we made these single use, sharp cut every time has really been instrumental in allowing us to be the standard of care.
So when you understand the differences between these trays and why it's so important to upgrade your older accounts to this new system, the bonuses and the benefits are obvious. The last thing we did was we made significant improvements on the solid nail extractors from old to new. So old were straight, they're slotted, they had no cutting teeth, and they would actually break, the slot would actually break if the surgeon didn't size it correctly. The new ones don't have a slot that actually flexes. They have a slot in here for some bone to clear, but we also added teeth, and we added 5 sizes rather than 4 sizes. So we have a larger selection of IM nails that we can attach to. These are also used in knee cases. They're also used in hip cases, shoulder cases where we're finding broken stems. And these are also disposable because we want a fresh bite every time as they come in and grab that broken piece of the nail or a solid nail, so you've got 2 of everything.
So to understand the differences between each of these trays that you're running into across your accounts and being able to display the benefits that make S9 nail the standard of care is going to be instrumental in you guys upgrading your accounts. It's not just S9 nail, it's Maxi, it's Shukla screw, broken and stripped, it's Shukla blade, S9 nail, Shukla lag, and Shukla broken nail. When you have those 6 sets in a room, we can truly be the standard of care without the need for any other systems to be brought in from any of your competitors. So I thought this video would help you guys all understand the differences, the visuals of each tray so that you can identify them in your old accounts. Should you have any additional questions or would like to discuss strategies to upgrade your accounts as you find these older systems in the field, definitely give me a call and I can definitely help you walk through there, because I've actually been with this company since right in about between here. So I've been involved in the upgrades across the platform, and so I know specific reasons as to why we made the improvements and how that can help you guys sell. So thank you for your time today. Again, if you have any questions, let me know.